Hello, everybody. Welcome to VGWAworld. I'm Cobrettie.
And I'm Walley.
And thank you for joining us today as we continue WrestleRank, as we go through and play all the console wrestling video games
that we can afford.
Today's video game is Battle Royale, released in October 1990 for the TurboGrafx-16.
Finally, the 90s. Video games were awesome in the 90s. Yes!
This video game was published by NEC and developed by Incredible Technologies. Can you guess what this game has in common with a popular arcade title often found in a bar?
The only bar I visit is the pizza bar.
Originally, Incredible Technologies was founded by NASA engineer Richard Dutton and biochemist Elaine Hodgson. And Battle Royale was not Incredible Technologies' first foray into the wrestling arena. What other wrestling video game did this team develop under a different name?
Something tells me this must be on a computer. It's not a console game.
Initially starting out as Free Radical Software, they developed Championship Wrestling, published by Epix for the Apple II, Atari ST, Commodore 16, and 64. It was rumored that this game was being developed to reach a licensing agreement capitalizing on the newfound popularity of WWF.
You know, I hear we're the #1 wrestling video game channel on YouTube. You know, that's one great thing about rumors. They don't always mean they're factual.
Not shy of developing sports titles, Incredible Technologies went on to release arcade cabinets in 1988 through 89, including Capcom Bowling, that used a trackball, which also was a precursor proof of concept for that popular arcade game found in many arcades and bars, even today. Have you guessed the title yet?
Oh, I know. It is Coors Light Bowling.
Coors Light, it's the right beer now. But no, that's not it.
I got it. American Gladiators for the NES. Laser was so awesome.
Yes, but no. They did make American Gladiators for the NES, but damn it, Wally, have you ever played American Gladiators in a bar?
With enough beer, anybody can be a gladiator. I know, they took the trackball and then put it into a tennis ball launcher. That would be awesome.
Wally, please, just stop. Being a game developer that specialized in using peripherals in the games they developed, developer Incredible Technologies was tasked in providing a video game that would take full advantage of the TurboTap multiplayer function.
You know, for a peripheral, you need to have that awesome app. You know, like Rob the Robot from Gyromite on the NES. If you know anything about the TurboGrafx, it only had one controller port. Yay for single players. Believe it or not, I had friends when I was younger. Just don't know where they went now.
At its time of release, it was the second US exclusive title. Arguments can be made that it is the first US exclusive, where in November 1989, R-Type was released in the US containing both R-Type 1 and 2 in a single hue card. The US version does differ that it has a boss at the end of Stage 6 instead of a swarm of enemies, but due to the variations of R-Type being similar, I consider Battle Royale to be the first US exclusive out of 19. Or 20 if you want to include R-Type.
I'm not having a good feeling in my gut about this game if it was never released in Japan.
At the time, Tricky Kick and TV Sports Football were also US exclusives, until released later by Victor Entertainment in Japan in 1993. Focusing on multiplayer mayhem, the development team and publisher NEC knew that the single-player experience was lacking. This can be seen in TurboPlay's review in the 1990-1991 December-January issue, where the review copy of the game was accompanied by a letter urging the reviewers to play the multiplayer mode. Quoting, "The game was designed with one thing in mind, multiplayer fun. With the PC Engine in Japan having the exclusive title Fire Pro Wrestling released in 1989 to commercial and critical acclaim, how would Battle Royale do with its arcade button mashing gameplay? But we are getting ahead of ourselves. Before we jump into gameplay, let's take a look at the roster of wrestlers. First up is Mongo Khan.
Mongo? I love Mongo on Monday Nitro. Him and his little dog Pepe? Oh, those were awesome. Go Four Horsemen.
Sometimes attributed to the Iron Sheik. Me personally, I think he looks a little bit more like Butch Reed.
You die. You die.
Next, we have Sumo Master.
You know, he kind of looks like a cosplayer that, we shouldn't say. We shouldn't say.
And then we have Spitfire Spike and the Meat Eater, both which we consider Road Warrior knockoffs.
Knockoffs? When have you ever seen the Road Warriors use moves like this? And then there's the Executioner, who reminds us of Demolition. Singular.
Me personally, I think that helmet is responsible for the terrible Farouk Assad gimmick. Damn! At the start of the game, you are welcome to the Brawl Network newscast, the Battle Royal of America Wrestling League.
Looking at the title screen, it reminds me that the 90s were a different era, that's for certain.
On this screen, if you want to access the sound test, press the button combination shown up on the screen. You know, digging up print media available for Battle Royale, I noticed how many magazines were pulling for anything that was not Nintendo. Even at the point of adding positive reviews for anything non-Nintendo. Take a look at this EGM review. To me, it looks like they just made this stuff up to be positive. And look at this, it's a $62 game in 1990, adjusted for inflation. That is $139.
In 1990, the average price of video games was $49.99. That's kind of a big jump, especially since about, 4 years ago, we were complaining about now games are $70?
I think this game got passed up for Bonk's Adventure that released about the same time for a mere $49.99.
Was EGM right? Will this rock our socks off? Let's find out!
Usually we would start these reviews looking at graphics or sound. But for this one, we're gonna have to start with the controls.
Oh boy, the controls. That is one interesting configuration for a controller. I think the PC would have been more fun to play on. At least I know my fingers will touch everything.
So make sure to check out our modified manual for Battle Royale that is uploaded on archive.org. And look at these crazy button combinations you have to do to perform different maneuvers. The select button? Really?
Who cares about the select button? I just used button 1 and 2 and just did whatever I could.
I made an attempt to use the select button by putting my index finger on the select button and then using my ring finger and pinky finger for buttons 1 and 2. But after a while, I did the exact same thing you did and just resorted to using buttons 1 and 2.
Cobrettie, you're jumping ahead. You skipped the character selection screen. For me, this is one of the best parts of the entire game. You only have to push one button and move all the way down.
But the first time we played, we didn't even look at the manual. I mean, how do you select a wrestler? How is this the best part of the game?
Cobrettie, are you sure they were pushing for the turbo tap and just not the select button only? 'Cause they were obsessed with it in this game. You know, after looking at these manager splash screens, now I know what you're talking about. The Mega Touch, what's the difference?
Yes, once upon a time, those were often found at bars, but no, Wally, it's not that game either. But now, let's take a look at some actual in-ring gameplay.
Well, Cobrettie, you did it again. You fooled me. This is not a wrestling game. I dare you. Prove to me that there is one wrestling move in this game.
If you pick up your opponent and you don't make it to the ropes, you can just slam them on the ground. That counts, doesn't it?
Okay, 2 moves.
You could do a first high hit, second high hit, first middle hit, second middle hit, special punch.
But we've been through this. You already did the first high hit and the low hit. What is there? There's nothing else in this game to tell me it's a wrestling game. And don't you dare say ring.
There's a wrestling ring.
God, I hate you, Cobrettie. This is why nobody believes we're a wrestling channel.
I do have one positive thing to say about the controls. Whenever you're just performing, you're punching kicks because that's all you can do. In addition to picking somebody up and throwing them out of the ring, there is no slowdown even when there are 5 wrestlers in the ring.
The natural state of this game is slow down. Look how janky they move. They are janky as mud. I'm going back to the Atari wrestling game.
Well, now that we moved on to graphics, the character sprite models for this game were actually large and detailed compared to console releases at the time.
Yeah, the graphics look great, as long as the game is paused. The large sprites help for a unique health system, where on their wristbands, if you had black, you were at full strength, yellow, 3/4 strength, red, half strength. If you're flashing red and yellow, well, you're at quarter strength and you're going to get thrown out of the ring. Brother, red and yellow, quarter life.
But at the end of the match, you enter into the ultimate state of slowdown with the replay.
It was a good idea, but the execution was just crap.
And here is another code for you. If you actually get thrown out of the game and you don't want to lose, you can enter the button combination shown on the screen to re-enter the ring. I didn't bother, but supposedly it works.
I just gave up. I didn't want to waste any more time. But any of you out there who want to try it, go ahead and leave a comment below to let us know if the code works.
Moving on to the audio design, Battle Royale, for the time, did provide more voice samples in a video game than any other console video game we have played so far.
I think they should sue. This is the original Doom Guy dying sound.
And in addition to the voice samples, the background music for this video game is fair. I would say it's high quality, but it does get very repetitive.
Repetitive. That is the theme of this game. Which now leads us to the rating of this game. For me, I give this game a meh. Between the difficult controls, the non-wrestling action in the ring, the okay graphics, it just doesn't sit up high with me. Even if you can play 2 to 5 players in the game, I don't see this game being an overly excitement than more than 1 to 2 matches at the most.
I give this game a meh as well. While the game is fully functional, I don't consider it a fun game. And now, on to the ranking of this video game. I think Walley and I are both in agreement that we need to start below the Kinnikuman line.
I agree that this game should be below the Kinnikuman line. I put it underneath WWF WrestleMania.
Honestly, Walley, as much as it pains me to admit it, I may actually have to put this one underneath Champion Pro Wrestling.
Well, the streak ended. We're not on the same page anymore.
Because in Champion Pro Wrestling, you actually performed wrestling maneuvers and pinned your opponent.
Both you and I are knocking this game for the bad controls. But Champion Pro Wrestling controls are an abomination. They're so horrible that I know I threw the controller.
Okay, you got me somewhat in agreement now. I'm going to put it above Champion Pro Wrestling. Mainly for the sound design. Because there are actual excited crowd effects in Battle Royale, unlike the excited crowd in Champion Pro Wrestling.
Yes, back on track. The streak continues. Speaking of back, what was that arcade game that we were talking about earlier?
Incredible Technologies, after releasing Capcom Bowling for the arcades using the trackball, used that technology to introduce their next hit arcade game at the AMOA International Expo for their first release of Golden Tee.
Hey, I like Golden Tee. Hey, you know what, Cobrettie? After this, let's go get a drink at the bar.
So thank you for joining us today, and make sure to join us next time as we look at the top 5 Battle Royals.
But Cobrettie, why are we doing that in between games?
Because in order to provide you the best product we still need some time to translate articles, and we don't want to be a channel that just repeats Wikipedia. So once again, thank you for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.